Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another segment of Asaph Cafe. I am your host, Asaph Adonai, and before I start this program, I just want to let everybody know that next Thursday will be our 100th episode of this show.
Fascinating.
Asaph Cafe. I am very humbled. Thank you. And so, good Lord willing, we'll be doing it next Thursday. See, technically, I've been doing 2 shows a week, right?
All right.
So, I'll put 99 and 100 together and just call it 100 and just make it a 2-hour special.
Fascinating.
So tune in next week, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to have a look back in time and show some really early Asaph cafes.
That'll be fascinating.
Yeah, it will be fun. So on my immediate right, our special guest is Steve Zeiler. Did I pronounce that right? Good. I'm glad I pronounced that right. As Steve's going to do some playing the piano for us in a little bit here, and he'll talk to you about his projects and some of the things that's going on in his life. And we have another regular on my left that hasn't been here for a while. The lovely Teresa Toigo is here.
Mm-hmm.
And affectionately, our aging rocker Emmett on my further left. So
Yep.
And you guys know each other, right? Steve, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And so on. Great. So this will be fun here. I'm just checking one other final thing. I'll know when to stop. So let me start up with Santa Lucia just to get the mood started.
Yeah.
And then I'll focus on you, and then we'll make the transition for you to play. You just take as much time. We'll do this for almost a whole literal hour, this particular show. So it gives you plenty of time. When the hand gets on the 6, that's when I'll have to wind it down. So that's plenty of time there. I didn't say that right, did I? Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
So anyway, you want to start us off, Em?
Yeah. Thank you, O Lord, for this time together. Bless our time together, O God, in Jesus' name.
And on that note, let's start off with Santa Lucia. I haven't done this in a while. I always think of Jim Neighbors every time I hear this song.
Who?
Jim Neighbors.
Never heard of him.
Gomer Pyle.
Oh yeah, Gomer Pyle. Yeah. I never really watched Gomer Pyle. Yeah. Interesting. Oh, thanks for the water. I was kind of thirsty.
There's some treats too.
Wonderful. Thanks.
You know.
This
Oh,
is a
thanks. Yeah, thank
classical
you.
version of the song. Such a neat song, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I learned this style that I have here. I was trained to do this.
I forgot to bring my book.
Don't worry about it. We can talk about it if you want.
You've never signed it.
Okay. I'll do it for you next time. Santa Lucia. And that's kind of a classical style. Like I like to take all the popular songs and make them sound like classical music. I was trained how to do that because normally, and I've demonstrated this before, but I don't think you've ever seen this. But when you do like, say, I Left My Heart in San Francisco, they might do something like this. I'm sorry. You know, it's kind of plain. And there's nothing wrong with that. Or The Girl from Ipanema.
Oh, I love this song. Yep.
Something like this, see? And there's nothing wrong with that style. That's your traditional style when people play in piano bars. They kind of play everything kind of straight, and that's fine. And so I just, with the help of a good teacher, Marshall Coswell, put little notes in there. Something like this, see? Something like that, see? So, Teresa, you've been with us before, so I'm going to focus more on Stephen. Feel free to ask Steve any questions. First, I want to ask you a couple of questions just so the audience can know a little bit about you. Where are you from?
Well, I lived on the East Coast growing up.
What part of the East Coast?
Maryland.
Oh, okay, because I have family in New York.
Oh, okay.
So I have a familiarity with the East Coast. You have any brothers and sisters?
I got a brother in D.C. and a sister in D.C.
Excellent, okay. And how long have you been living in Montana and in Missoula?
I've been living in Missoula. It's the only place I've lived in Montana, and I've been here a little over
over 13 years.
13 years. How do you like it here in Missoula?
No, I love it.
Yeah, me too. I left the big city to come to a smaller city.
It's a place you can call home right away.
Yeah, I know. I really like it here. Let me do something for you. Tell me if you know this song.
Oh, I'm not really good at music trivia.
Ever heard this song? I'll do it again.
Yeah, no, I've heard it. I'm not really good at music trivia. But I bet Teresa knows.
I know the song, but I can't think of the name.
All right, Emmett, you want to help
That's
him out?
Swinging Safari.
That's called Swingin' Safari.
Yep.
It's not a very technical song. It's a cute little song.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, famous band leader that passed named Bert Kempfert made that song famous. And they called him the hit maker because what he used to do is create all these fun little songs. They weren't very technical, but they were fun and they were delightful songs, like light classical music.
Yeah.
And he would introduce them on television, and they became instant hits. Every song that man ever did was a big hit in the 60s. Bert Kempfert, so you can look him up sometime. He just, that's what they called him, hit maker. Everything that man ever touched turned to gold. He just came out with hit after hit. He had like little elaborate orchestras in the background, right, and stuff like that. It was kind of fun. So let's get back to you for a moment, Steve. Did you do it? Were you a student at the university at all?
No, I went to school years ago at University of Maryland.
Okay, cool. That's cool. I've never actually been to Maryland, but New York's about as close to that state as I've gotten. And how have you been lately, Teresa?
Fantastic.
I am glad to hear that.
Yesterday was the best day of my life.
What happened yesterday?
Oh, I wrote down in my journal like 10 things. Well, I'm working at Secret Seconds, and I got to help out this homeless lady. I got to donate some stuff to the women's shelter. I said goodbye to my therapist. I'm done with therapy.
Okay.
Oh, and the day before I rode on a Harley.
Wow.
Cool.
Yeah.
This is called Mañana. That's called Mañana. You know, before they had the political correct movement, the lady that introduced that song got a lot of heat for it at the time. This was before the political correct movement, which I thought was a little silly. It's Peggy Lee is the big band singer. I don't know if you ever heard of her. She was a famous singer of the past. She introduced that song to the world back in the 1940s. It's called Mañana. And it's basically about this guy that just was cooking chili, and he let the chili burn the house down. And then they had that little accent, so she got a little heat for that one there. But other than that, it's just such a fun, delightful song. Now, anything you can think to ask? Steve?
Yes,
We're going to have him play here in a moment.
So, what is your favorite type of music? One of mine is easy listening as well as punk rock. Do you like easy listening like Lawrence Welk or anything, or what? Or?
I think it varies day to day and in the mood. So
Yeah.
many styles. Generally, it's an emotional connection.
The same here with me.
Or I analyze the music in a way and see if I can figure out a rhythm or an arrangement that I'm liking. You know, I kind of go into that, but it could be just about any style, and
Interesting.
I'll find something about it that draws me in. It can be pop or classical or new age, or jazz or blues, any genre really, reggae, Hawaii.
So you basically like all kinds of music.
Yeah, I really don't have a wall up against too many types of music. It's just I'm trying to remain open-minded about the possibilities of music and how they can evolve into different genres. I mean,
Okay.
it's amazing to me how we can have new music continually with so many fixed amount of notes.
Okay, well, my final question before we switch the roles. Oh, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Tell me about your piano history. How old were you when you started playing the piano?
I played from age 6 to age 13.
Okay.
And it took a few decades off.
Well, I've heard you play, and I think you play extremely well.
That's really flattering because I took 30 years off, and so I came back to it. And
But
a
did you take any?
coincidence.
Did you ever take any formal piano lessons as a child?
Yeah, from 6 to 13.
6 to 13. Okay, you took
There's
lessons.
more memorization of pieces for recitals.
Okay, so you studied a little bit of the classics at that time, or
yeah,
was
and I
it?
can't even recall. They weren't the classics that were popular. They were just
Oh,
different.
popular songs.
Yeah, it was very unique songs that I remember my recitals.
Okay,
being
and you took
completely
that
unique.
time off, and then you got back into it.
Yeah,
right,
I
pretty
took that-
much?
yeah, took that
Well, that's
time.
cool.
Yeah, I got back.
Well,
into
on that note, we're gonna switch, and I'm gonna sit where you are, and
it. Okay.
then I have these notes here written out, and you can. That was just for my own sake, but you can introduce the songs and
Okay.
talk about your YouTube video and give the audience here the information you want, and just take your time.
Okay.
So let's just switch. This is kind of cool because this is only like the second or third time I get to sit on my own show and have someone else play. So
Interesting, yep.
I will be a guest. Can you hand me that water there?
Sure.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'll let Steve take over, and you just can introduce your song and say anything that sets second camera to the audience there before you play, and just take over.
Well, this is a piece that I've been working on for a few years, and
Okay.
I put it to some pictures that I've taken in a YouTube video a
Okay.
little over a month ago.
Okay.
And if you wanted to find that video on YouTube, you could type the word Benjimagination.
Well, I'll spell that, Benjimagination. That's spelled BENJAMAJ.
M-A-G.
I'm sorry, MAGINATION. Just leave out the letter I when you put the word imagination, right?
Think of the first part of the name Benjamin, Benja,
Yeah.
and the last part of the word imagination, so Benja-magination.
Well, why don't we have
know
you
what I
spell
thought it
that,
was?
just to make sure that's clear.
Benjamination.
Okay.
Opus 1.
You know what I,
Benjimagination, Opus 1.
you
And
know what
when
I
they-
thought it was?
Go ahead.
I thought it was Ben, like jam, like jam.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The letter J. I'm sorry, it's a G. So if they look that up on YouTube, they can see the song that you're about to play.
Yep.
All right, take it away, Steve. Anything else you want to say real quick before you start playing? Anything that the audience should know?
This music that I play has come from the love I have for my son, and I don't know if I would even be here if I hadn't tried to convey that love through piano one day.
How old is your son right now?
He just turned 5.
Good. All right, well, go ahead, Steve. Have fun.
Excellent.
Thank you.
So that that makes me think of that might be something they might use in a dental office when you're waiting for
Yes.
a dentist to come, or you're just in a
Yeah.
hospital room and you just listen to something relaxing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you.
one interpretation of it.
Yeah. Thank
And
you.
then I was thinking, well, this is kind of crude, but like Bach, how he had like a lot of repetitions in some of his
Well,
works.
Yeah, well, thank you.
It's-
Anytime you compare me to Bach, that's quite flattering.
Mhm.
That's
That was just what I was thinking.
No.
I liked it.
Well,
I
thank
you.
really liked it.
Well,
What did you think, Evan?
Yeah, I very much liked it. It kind of reminded. I mean, have you ever heard of Philip Glass? He was kind of a New Age artist.
actually I play misinterpretations of Philip Glass.
Misinterpretations.
That's my theme. I play misinterpretations of Beethoven and misinterpretations of Coldplay and misinterpretations of
Interesting.
Philip Glass.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
this isn't really-
I'm influenced by his minimalist type.
I thought so.
repetition.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Like
thought
this
so.
isn't really what you would call New Age. It's just kind of relaxing music, right?
You know what? I don't know how to describe it.
Well,
'cause
I'm not a
it's-
fan of New Age music, but I do like this song here. But everybody has a different.
The name of the piece, Bench Imagination Opus 1, is a concept, but the specific name of that piece is called Hummingbird Sonata.
Hummingbird Sonata.
So I try to
You
think
know
of,
Opus 1?
think of birds.
But you
in-
said
in
that you
the
wrote
field
this
of
song
music.
basically for your son. Did I understand that correctly?
Well, it comes through the love for my son has been channeled into this piece of music.
Okay.
And when I played this piece of music publicly in Missoula,
Mm-hmm.
somebody noticed that day and changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
Well, obviously you've played this song before in public, then, haven't you?
Right. I played for the Missoula Rotary Club a few years ago.
The same composition you did just
Just
now?
the first 5 minutes of it.
Okay, and
first-
this
the
is
first
something
movement.
like 8 minutes. Well, that was
Yeah.
very nice.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
I liked it.
Yeah.
It's a different. I was thinking comparing styles, and you should never compare styles of piano players. That's why I call it interpretation. I really liked it.
Mhm.
Well, thank you. I
Because
really
two-
appreciate that.
It's not that I'm not looking; it's just I'm kind of focused on the audience. But
No.
yeah, I really,
Hello, audience.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it. So let's make sure we got that. That's called Opus. It's Opus 1.
Bench Imagination Opus
Bench
1.
Imagination Opus 1, and the name of the song is called Hummingbird Sonata.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
All right, cool.
And I think there's a little story about some of the emotions that went into it when you go to YouTube, and I think I mentioned Hummingbird Sonata
Mm-hmm.
as the particular title of that.
Okay.
So it's a concept of work. I'm going to be working on Opus 2 today, and then when they're all complete,
How many songs are planning on putting together, you think?
well, I'm going to have them in sections, so this next one will be its own, and then I might have a medley for the next opus.
Well, they do it with classical music. They'll have like an opus, and like
Right,
opus 1, opus 2,
Right.
and then they'll put like say 3 movements in the same song.
Right.
So are you thinking of doing something like that, like write a bunch of songs, put them together, and just lump it
Well,
into one song, maybe?
Actually, I have the piece already recorded from this studio, and then
Okay.
we're putting images, photography to those recordings, one opus at a time.
Oh,
So it's kind of
okay.
building into an eventual stream of piano that's about 50 minutes.
Oh, okay, I see. Well, that's interesting.
So,
Well,
yeah,
at least you
to
gave
be- to be
people.
continued.
Yeah, like same bat time, same bat
Same
channel.
bat time, same bat channel.
Well, at least you gave us a little preview. Well, big preview on the cafe today. So
Thank you. I really appreciate the time.
you guys can look him up, and you're going to be taking off here pretty soon, aren't you?
I'm actually going into the other studio to try and do some production on the next video.
Well,
So-
what you could do is walk behind this tower here, and I'll just take over and finish talking with Emmett and Teresa. And
Oh, okay.
thanks for
Yeah.
playing.
Thank you.
Actually, it would be on Soundscapes if you do get charter. Soundscapes is 942.
Yeah, actually, I've heard that station. I like that.
I like it. That's technically New Age. So technically, your New Age really isn't like crystals or anything. You know, a lot of it is piano or soft guitar.
Yeah.
That is absolutely beautiful.
Well,
So-
I don't see this as new age. It just kind of it had a little flavor, but I really liked it.
You know.
I don't think Steve's intent was necessarily new age. I don't.
No,
think.
no.
I didn't even know what my category. I didn't know.
You know, Soundscapes kind of.
I would put this under a classical, easy listening category, just so you
Interesting.
can get
Yeah.
a bigger audience
Uh-huh.
in case there's someone who's not comfortable, say, with new age because of the crystals and things.
Well, I
Yeah.
play for
Yeah.
assisted living. This one assisted living center every Monday, and this style of music seems to be of a soothing
Yeah,
concept
it's-
for the folks who don't get much stimulation. So.
Well, I know it's your composition, but if I were in your shoes, I would put it under a light classical
Yeah.
category
Yeah,
instead of
I
a new
think so.
age category, just
Uh-huh.
to reach a bigger audience in
Sure.
case there's people weren't comfortable with New Age.
Right.
Not because
No, I
the
can respect that.
New Age is bad necessarily. It's just some of the things that's associated with that is why people get nervous.
Yeah.
So just
I don't know
food for
why they
thought.
call it even
Thank
New
you.
Age
Appreciate
music when it really is like modern acoustic, modern classical,
Yeah, I
like
think
George
it would
Winston.
be. I think it would be an insult to call this song New Age. I really do.
Yeah.
I think it would be very insulting.
Well, it's just, you know, I've listened to so much of that music, like on Soundscapes, that it is that style, like George Winston.
yeah,
George
well,
Winston.
he's a fine musician.
Exactly, and that he would be technically classified under the, Soundscapes, New Age type music, technically, because
Well,
it's all
okay,
that
yeah.
type of, it's not just whistles or, metal, Eastern music. No, it's a very, I'd call it more modern acoustic music.
Yeah.
Like Soundscapes used to be on Easy 102, that kind of thing.
Well, Teresa, what did you think of that song?
Oh, it's very moving. Especially when you see it on YouTube.
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
so the
No,
images-
you've seen the video. Okay.
Yeah.
well, Steve, you're going to get a copy of this episode today that you might can use for.
I can send to my mother.
Yeah,
I love you, Mom.
Yeah, you can look in that camera and say hi to your mother.
I love you, Mom. I love you, Dad.
You heard that, Mom. So anyway, you could use this episode as a demonstration. I'm going to have it on YouTube in about a couple hours from now, and
Okay.
I'll make a
Well, thank
DVD
you.
version, and
Thank you so
feel
much.
free to make more copies. And because the way you played that just without the video, just the song itself, I think could make a great resume or presentation or something, or I don't know.
Well, maybe when I finish Opus 2, that's a 12-minute song, and I could demonstrate that sometime in the future. if you-
Perhaps, yeah,
If you'd
okay.
like.
Yeah, we'll keep that in mind.
Okay.
But I did like this song. Any last minute words before? Because I know Steve has to go.
Congratulations on your 100th. That's
Yeah,
very
thank you.
congratulations.
Yeah, we're going to be doing that. I'll
Yeah,
finish
It's good to see you
interviewing.
again.
Yeah. Great to meet you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good to
Well,
see you.
Steve, thank you for
Thank
playing
you.
that.
I appreciate it. How kind of you.
All right, well, I'll just entertain you two. We still got about 15 minutes left.
Fascinating.
Wow, you did lower the seat.
I wanted Steve to talk about the Seinfeld show.
If you want to talk about Seinfeld, we can talk about Seinfeld. We still
he
got about
had- he
15,
had
20
something
minutes.
really funny to talk about.
Sure, all right. We'll talk about, let's get an intro of Seinfeld here. Thanks,
He
Steve.
can talk about it
Absolutely.
next time he's on.
Thank you.
Bye.
No, we can talk about it right now. Let's do an intro. Something like that.
Yeah.
That was the intro to Seinfeld.
Yeah, I've never cared for Seinfeld myself. I never thought
Wow.
it was funny.
It was kind of a silly show, but it
Very
worked.
silly.
Yeah, it was a show about
Nothing, really.
nothing.
Yeah.
That was their concept. I
Yeah.
mean, that's not a show that you can necessarily watch and go home and say, well, this episode was about such and such and such and such. It just
Right.
kind of...
Yeah, I'm surprised it became
Yeah.
such a big hit for so many people. I never laughed, Just interesting.
What did you think of that show?
It's one of my favorites.
Hmm.
You want to talk about Seinfeld? Go for
Mhm.
it. Is it any
Oh,
particular...
like Steve and I were talking about something that you would enjoy, an episode with a character named Kramer.
I'm familiar with his
All
character.
right, he finds this furniture like in a dumpster or something, and it's the set that they used on the, is it Mike Douglas?
Oh, I think I saw that episode when he was, I forget the show, but he found this set to a talk show or something.
Right, and
Okay.
he brings in all of his friends and has him interviews them.
Oh, yeah, I did see that particular episode, yeah. I did see that one. He was like Johnny Carson, he
Yeah,
found the table, the desk, and he brought it into his home, so when his friends came over, it was like they were on a talk show.
Yeah.
I did see that episode.
I didn't see many of them, so
Well, Seinfeld was, I don't want to pick on the Seinfeld fans, because I know that works for them. I didn't watch that show all the time, but I did see some episodes I thought was pretty amusing, and that particular one was kind of funny. Can you imagine going to someone's house and you're sitting there being interviewed? He's got a interview table in his living room, and he's sitting at a desk like Johnny Carson, and you come over and visit, and you're a guest
Yeah, amazing,
in his
yeah.
house. It was kind of amusing, really amusing. So is that your favorite show?
Yes.
Mm.
You have a favorite show, Emmett?
It's hard to say. I think one of my favorite shows was Battlestar Galactica or Star Trek. Kind of a tie between Star Trek and Battlestar Galactica. The old one from the 70s.
Yeah. Speaking of Battlestar Galactica, I think I maybe never told you the story. I got invited to play at an organization called the Jeffrey Foundation in California years ago, and they had these children that had mental disabilities and physical disabilities and stuff at the time. And this is in the heyday when Battlestar Galactica was popular. You remember the Cylons with the red eye that would go across?
Yeah.
Well, they had these little guys in robot costumes at the Universal Studios tour when they were giving a tour of the show. And so you could see their eye going across the little red dot. And then, of course, these were just children, sweet little kids. But from their point of view, they thought the Cylons were real as we were going through the tours, and they got freaked out. And it was just so sad and humbling to try to explain to these children that were terrified and crying, and "Mommy," that this wasn't real.
Yeah.
But it's because of their mental challenges. So nobody stopped to think that from their point of view would be really frightening, and it was. They were crying and scared, hanging on, and we just had to comfort these kids, let them know this is just a ride, it's not real, and they calmed down. But man, those Cylons that they had those black outfits, and this little red dot was going across their visor, like
A Cylon?
Yes, Cylons,
Battlestar Galactica.
They were robots. They were created by a lizard-like race of beings on another planet, a galaxy far away. But they were robots. They wanted to destroy all humanity. They hated humans. They wanted to destroy all humanity. That's how pretty much it happened. They're the 12 tribes of something, or there were these 12 lost tribes of these planets. They were wiped out by the Cylon Empire. There was huge space battle, but there were these battle stars, huge battle cruisers called battle stars that would, protect basically the various home worlds in another galaxy. And basically, they got wiped out. And the last survivor, the last Battlestar Galactica, they were able to get the survivors of humanity onto these ships, whatever they could carry, to try and find the 13th world, Earth. That there are a lot of, they might be humans, they might have technology to defeat the Cylons. So that was basically Battlestar Galactica, and it had lasers, and it had space wars, and it
was a crazy show, that Battlestar.
I loved it. I have all the episodes on tape. Yeah.
The whole
almost. Yep. I do. It was fascinating.
Perfect song to play when you're talking about Battlestar Galactica.
Space Wars and excellent music, fantastic music.
And Lauren Green, the actor, was the star of the Bonanza.
Right.
Yeah, he was wasn't he the commander? Or
yes, he was.
That
yeah. Commander Dama.
I'm gonna play something. Tell me if you know this song, and you probably know. So let's see if she can figure it out. Short version of that song. Do you recognize it?
Oh, I definitely recognize it.
I'll give you a hint. Do you remember that scene? This guy comes out with a samurai sword, and the character of the show just pulls out this gun and he goes, and wasted him.
A samurai?
Yeah, he had this big samurai sword. That's
I
a hint.
was thinking it was something Western.
It had a Western flavor.
Okay.
I'll do it again.
Tell me.
Raiders of the Lost Ark, Harrison Ford.
Okay.
You recognize it now?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's my version of that song.
I remember taking my daughter to see that theater.
Yeah, boy, it's amazing. What is that, about 30 years old?
Yeah, it is about, yeah.
Yeah, I remember the first time when I saw that scene when that
Oh,
guy,
yeah.
that warrior came out with that
Oh,
sword.
yeah,
I
it
was
was
thinking,
hilarious.
what is Indiana Jones gonna do now? How's he gonna get out of this one?
Yeah.
And he just pulls out this gun and just shoots the guy.
Well,
And
Yeah.
walks away. It was so amusing.
Yeah, it was.
Just the way that scene came across.
Yeah.
And I'm not advocating shoot someone, but that scene, just you couldn't help but laugh.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
He was in a pickle. I mean, he was gonna get his head cut off by this guy.
Yeah.
And then the special effects on that
Yeah.
show for then.
For that time,
Yeah.
But they had a lot of science fiction shows in that time. Battlestar Galactica,
Mhm.
Space 1999 came before that.
Yeah, that was excellent, yeah.
Oh gosh. Then they had Star Wars came out in that time too, didn't it?
Yeah, 1977, yep.
Yeah. Do you know what year that not Battlestar, Raiders of the Lost Ark came out? Didn't that come out around that time too?
You know, it came out a little later, like 1983 or 84, I can't remember. 1983, I think.
Uh-huh.
Because the second Raiders of the Lost Ark, the second came out in 1984, so I'm thinking 1982, 83, I can't remember.
Okay. This comes out before.
Okay, I know this song.
I'm sorry, I missed a note there.
Secret Agent Man.
Oh, yeah.
Secret Agent Man.
Cool song.
Yeah. One show I really like, it's on this channel 103 called Sprout TV. It's just
Sprout
mostly,
TV?
yeah, it's mostly for toddlers, but I thought, what is up with this toddler TV? This is wonderful. They have the sweetest cartoons, a lot of them from Canada, but they have one called Caillou. It's often been on PBS. It's
Okay.
just a sweet cartoon for little kids, about a 4-year-old who just does regular 4-year-old things, like goes to play school or learns how to make pizza or has friends over, and it's just the most innocent, family-friendly show you've ever seen. It's just like for 5 minutes each, but they're so sweet, just totally innocent, and like this is so wonderful. It's so innocent and just very inspiring, I think.
I never heard of that.
It's wonderful. It's
Is that similar to Me TV?
No, Sprout TV is like for kindergartners.
Okay.
With preschoolers, I think it's just a wonderful. They've taken off a lot of my favorite shows like Poppycat or The Wiggles, which they were a song and dance trio from Australia. They've taken off a lot of the
So
good
it
stuff.
sounds like it's more foreign type.
It is. A lot of
television show.
yes, it is. Yeah.
Well, speaking of children's show, the only one I'm familiar with is Mrs. Piggle Wiggle. Have you ever heard of her?
Oh, you told me about her. I'm not really familiar. I've never
the
seen.
actress Jean Stapleton played
Mm-hmm.
Mrs. Piggle Wiggle. She's, of course, best known for
Yeah.
playing Edith Bunker on
Mm-hmm.
All in the Family. But she was Mrs. Piggle Wiggle, and her husband was James Whitmore.
Mm-hmm.
But you never saw him because he was always at sea.
Mm-hmm.
So she had like these little pictures of Mr. Piggle Wiggle. And it was a fun show, similar to what you're talking
Yeah.
about. Maybe it reached a little older children because they would always have these episodes of teaching kids how to tell the truth,
Yeah.
or take a bath.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that bath one. They had this girl, her name was Charlie, they called her. And of course they had famous stars on
Mm-hmm.
like Ed Begley. He was in this episode with little Charlie. And Charlie was like this 7-year-old kid that didn't want to take a bath, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Mrs. Piggle Wiggle, she gets permission from Charlie's parents to teach her how to take a bath. So what they did was they put fertilizer on this kid. With her clothes on and everything. Mrs. Piggle Wiggle puts fertilizer on the kid, then they put seed on her, and they water her like a flower. And then these flowers start sprouting up, right, around the kid. And she still didn't want to take a bath because the idea was to get the mud off of her, get the flowers. And finally, after a week later, her parents come to Mrs. Piggle Wiggle's house, and they see their kid like this human bush, just had weeds all over and flowers and all over her kid. Look, Mommy, I don't have to take a bath. And so the parents freaked out, but at the end, this kid learns that lesson about getting clean because it got to the point where it wasn't fun having all that fertilizer on her.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, Mommy, can I take a bath? So
Mm-hmm.
they go and give the kid a bath. They don't show it on camera, obviously, but then she comes out. She looks like a cute little girl with her pigtails.
Mm.
Oh, so it wasn't animated then?
No, yeah, they were
Oh,
real
wow.
people. This is real people.
Real people.
Yeah, and Jean Stapleton was Mrs. Pigglewiggle. She had this unusual
Mhm.
outfit with striped stockings, and she had this talking tree that was 500 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And the tree was sitting in her living room like this,
Mm-hmm.
and it had like a face sticking out, and it was just the cutest cartoon or
Wow.
children's show. If you get to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Then they had this other episode of Mrs. Pigglewiggle where they were teaching this kid how to tell the truth and stop telling whoppers, right?
Mhm.
They call it whoppers. So to teach this boy to tell the truth, Mrs. Pigglewiggle gives him a backpack.
Mm-hmm.
Every time this kid tells a whopper, this big rock falls out of the sky. She catches it, and then they put it in the backpack, right? And finally, this kid had told so many whoppers that he had his whole backpack, his big box,
Mhm.
was getting all heavy and everything. He's like, I'm fine. It's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And he was
Yeah.
like really miserable because there's like 50 pounds on this kid, all these rocks, because he wouldn't tell the truth. And finally, they had this scene where they have what was called chicken. It was a pie. It was chicken hot sauce
Mhm.
pie, chicken tuna hot sauce pie, something like that. And it tastes really bad. I mean, it looked really yikes on the camera.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this boy said, "Yeah, I made this pie myself, and it's my favorite pie in the world." That boy his nose would have grown 10 feet long because he knew he didn't like it. So Mrs. Pigglewiggle goes, "Oh, let me try your pie." And right when she's about to take a piece of the boy goes, "No, I lied. I made it. I didn't make the pie. I didn't make any of this." And he said he was sorry for all the fibs he told, and then the rocks just came off the boy, and then he started liking telling the truth.
Yeah, good. Yeah,
It's
fascinating.
just
Yeah.
such a fun show.
Yeah,
You have
yeah.
to see it, Mrs. Pigglewiggle.
Mhm.
It's just a fun show.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the first time I saw that show, and I was like, "This is good."
Mhm.
My first thought was, "Oh, yawn, not another Captain Kangaroo."
Mm-hmm.
Not that I'm picking on Captain Kangaroo. He was fine, but
Yeah.
no, this is a fun
Mhm.
show. If you ever get to see it, Mrs. Pigglewiggle.
My favorite kids show, I think it's good for adults too.
What's that?
The Pee Wee Playhouse.
Oh, I remember it. Yeah, I have some.
Yeah.
I have some of those
And it's
episodes in
got
my
a
collection.
talking chair.
Yeah, I never liked that show. I couldn't get into it for some reason. Yeah.
That's with Pee Wee Herman, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that was a fine children's show. And what
Huh.
I liked about that show was it was modern for
Mhm.
its time.
Yeah.
Because if you want to get technical, see, when I was a little boy, all the television shows for children, they had, well, Sherry Lewis and Lamb Chop was
Right.
fun.
Mm-hmm.
Sherry Lewis was young, you know. When you think Sherry Lewis, you think of the older Sherry with the curly red hair, right?
Mhm.
When I was a little boy, her hair was way down to her back at that time,
Yeah.
black and white, and she still had the red hair. And Charlie Horse, the characters Charlie Horse, Hush Puppy, and Lamb Chop, they were really primitive socks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it was fun to watch that show, and I used to watch that show, and then my mom would send me off to school after watching Sherry Lewis. And they had a lot of children's shows like Captain Kangaroo. This is way before Mr. Rogers. They had Captain Kangaroo. They had Kukla, Fran, and Ollie.
Oh yeah.
And they had, of course, Sherry Lewis and Lamb Chop. And there was this one show, I can't remember, I think it was Romper Room. Do you remember that?
My sister was on Romper Room.
Oh.
Well, what was fun about Romper Room, this lady had, they called it a magic mirror, really, you know?
Mhm.
And she would put it up to her face,
Miss-
and she would
Miss
name,
Julie.
yeah, and she would name names of children, like say
Mhm.
Michael, and you know, just names. Before she'd go out, she'd name about 20 or 30 names. You know, hi Michael, hi
Mm-hmm.
whoever,
Mhm.
Teresa, hi Karen, hi this and that, right? And they never said my name, but
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't
I-
Asaph back then.
no, but still, they never said my name. So I used to, and I used to watch that just to see if they would always say my name, and they never did.
Yeah, I never saw Romper Room. Don't remember.
It was a fun children's show, and
Ah.
at the end of it, she always had the magic mirror, and she'd name off about 20 names at least, just saying hi to kids.
Wonderful, yeah.
And it was just fun watching that. I mean, I was always bummed out.
Mhm.
Oh, they
They
didn't
had-
say
they
my
had a-
name.
They had where the kids would come on, in their regular play clothes. And then they would have one day where the kids would all dress up really nice. Well, my mom didn't know, and she brought my sister in all dressed up, and the other kids had the play clothes on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But Romper Room, that was so fun. But then as more children's shows evolved, they started getting more modern by the time Mr. Rogers came out. And but Captain Kangaroo ran for almost 30 years on television.
That was my favorite when I was a kid.
Yeah, they had a song that went something like this. It was something like that. They had a theme song like that. And it was fun. And they had these characters like Mr. Green Jeans. You remember that?
Yes.
He came with these overalls, and he was like this school teacher type they just loved kids and they spoke with kids. But if I had to pick a children's show, I would probably pick Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle myself personally, because it was always fun. Oh, and speaking of talking tree, you know that tuna cake that had the hot sauce on the episode I was talking about?
Yeah.
Well, nobody liked it, but the tree got mad because the tree liked it. So, but they didn't think to give it to the tree. Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle didn't think to give that cake, so they threw the cake out, right? Because it was bad. The tree's moping around. What's wrong, Howard? You didn't bother to ask me if I wanted that cake. That tree, that was his tree's favorite cake, so she makes it up to the tree. It was just a fun show. In fact, all those children's shows were fun. So I don't know if there's a best children's show. I just think whatever you like.
Well, Mr. Rogers.
Well, that was good too.
It was okay. I watched it many times. It really wasn't my cup of tea, you know. It was almost more like a child psychiatrist or psychologist, and you were in 30 minutes of a child psychology session. It was kind of not really uncomfortable. It just wasn't my cup of tea, you know.
I just thought he was so kind.
Just the song.
Is he still on the air? Do they have him in reruns or
Yeah.
not? Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, but this might interest you. Fred Rogers, the actor that played Mr. Rogers, he was an ordained minister.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know he had a psychological side to it, but it made sense, a lot of those episodes. Like, they had this one episode that I happened to see where we were teaching children about self-esteem and loving themselves, and I thought that was cool.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they did some really crazy stuff on there.
Yeah.
Like, they one time they had this episode where they went to this trumpet factory, and they were showing how they made trumpets, and they were bending metal in this factory for real. Yeah, Wynton Marsalis on this episode up there testing these little horns, and I thought that was cute.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Mr. Rogers had all these fun characters like King Friday.
Oh, I remember that.
Gee
Yeah.
whiz.
Oh, yeah, I didn't like that.
It went something like this.
I remember. I think the last time I saw Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, I was about 16.
It was something like that, you know, that they
Yeah,
had,
I was about 16 years old, and my nieces were over, you know, and such. But I had just been to the dentist, and it was really groggy from, you know, the dental thing and the
It was
laughing gas. And I was just sitting there kind of in a stupor after the laughing gas and the Novocaine, and after the whole rigmarole going to the dentist, and just sitting there watching King Friday, and, you know, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood just kind of almost passed out, just, you know. Wow, that was the last time I saw Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Thankfully, one good thing, I haven't needed a dentist. My teeth have been pretty healthy, thank the Lord, that I have not needed a dentist in so long, thankfully. And I hate dentists. I hate dentistry. Oh, I hate going to the dentist. I hate going to the dentist. Oh. But if you have to go, you have to go. It was like, ugh, you know.
Yeah, I hated going to the dentist as a kid, too. That was fun.
Having your teeth cleaned, I just thought I was going to throw up. I just horrible. The dentist just wasn't very nice to me. It just wasn't you know, just, ugh. And it was always, somehow the Novocaine didn't work, and it was always pain, especially if they were drilling. They're like, oh! And my eyes would light up. It was like, oh, it was just, ugh.
Yeah, well, those weren't fun days.
No, they were not
Canals
fun.
and things like that, it's not fun. But anyway, getting back to children's shows, they had a lot of children's shows in the past, and probably more now. And I make no secret, I don't care for the children's shows that are out there today.
Mm-hmm.
I have
Like
Nor-
last week, we talked about that white dog.
Yeah,
what
and
is
that's
that?
even
What's the name of that?
Family Guy.
Oh, that's just the worst cartoon.
Yeah, and it's not even for kids. It's more for adults,
Oh,
really.
I just
Yeah.
don't think it's funny. I don't think
No, it's not.
any of those that whole thing, starting with The Simpsons up.
Yeah.
I could live without
Well,
all
I
that.
think
Well, I liked
think
The
they're
Simpsons,
hilarious,
but-
only for adults.
Yeah. Yeah, The Simpsons I
But
liked,
you
but
got
not
a
the other.
10-year-old going to be wanting to watch that, and it just had some
Yeah.
material that I thought was very inappropriate. They
True.
weren't like educational, like.
No, they taught
Adult
kids how to be
themed.
disrespectful to it.
Yeah, it's just very. I find that Family Guy and all those shows is so dysfunctional.
Yeah. Well, there's
I
one.
don't find anything
Yeah.
funny about that at all. But
There's
that's
one,
just
and
me.
I've forgotten the name of it for some reason, and it's lost on me. But it was a horrible cartoon for adults. It was a cartoon for adults about these horrible kids, and I've forgotten the name of it. Oh, I went.
Well, you'll have to save that thought for the second show because it's time to wind down.
Yes.
Some time just went by. And what we could do is we could just talk about television on the second show.
That's a good
Let's do
idea.
that.
I want to talk about some on the second show.
Sure. We can do that.
Okay.
We're just gonna, let's just close this show because we're running out of time here. Anyway, we're glad we had Steve here with us in Asaph Cafe, and of course Steve had to leave, and he wrote that beautiful composition, and we're glad he played. So any final words you want to say, Teresa, for this show before we go to the next one?
Oh, happy birthday to my cousin Dan. It was his birthday on the 26th.
Okay.
And I love him dearly, and I hope he watches this show.
Mhm.
I can't miss nothing. Let me do again.
Birthday to you, Dan.
His name is Dan?
Dan Andrus.
All right, well, Dan, I don't know you,
Best
but happy
fireman.
birthday. So we have Teresa Tuigo here, and then we're going to be doing a second taping in a while, and affectionately our aging rocker Emmett. So happy birthday. He's your niece?
My
nephew?
cousin.
Your cousin?
Yeah.
That's a good way to end the show. We'll just wish your
Yes,
cousin
I
a
love
happy
it, yeah.
birthday. So until our next show, ladies and gentlemen, Maranatha.
I remember that awful cartoon, and we'll talk about that on the second show. I finally remember the name of it. Yeah.
Hold that thought. So anyway, you guys make yourself at home. I'll set everything up, and we'll do the second show.
Fascinating.